Alrighty guys, got another YouTube video today. This is going to be on one of the most beautiful golf courses I have ever played. This is Kananaskis Golf Course, set in the Rocky Mountains, set in Alberta. It is a 36-hole facility. They got two courses. I only played the Ret, but I would love to go back and play the Kid. But judging by the title of this video, I'm going to be discussing how I shoot well, how I shoot in the 60s, kind of what it takes, and kind of my thought processes when it comes to, making a lot of birdies and not making a lot of bogeys. And that's pretty much the name of the game. Pretty much most golf courses are par 72s, so that means you have to make a minimum of 3 birdies, not including if you make any eagles. But that's not really that many birdies, to be honest. So playing good golf, part 1 of playing good golf is making less bogeys, making less mistakes. Obviously, you have to make a lot of birdies, but playing good golf and having a high floor is so much more about not making bogeys and not making mistakes than it is making birdies. Now, this video today, I'm actually going to end up making 8 birdies. I do make 3 bogeys, and at one point in the video, I do have 5 birdies in a row, which is nice. So obviously, if you're going to shoot in the mid-60s, you're going to have to make a lot of birdies. If you're going to shoot in 69, 68, you're going to only need a few. But I ended up making a lot of birdies in this video, so that can offset some of the bogeys that happens. But yeah, the first step is not making mistakes, and not making mistakes comes from not firing at pins when you don't have a good yardage. Now, when it comes to me, my plan when it comes to golf courses, obviously I'm going to try to hit the best shots I can, but for the most part, I'm going to try to destroy the par 5s. I'm not really going to try to birdie the par 3s, and for the most part, I'm not really even going to be trying to birdie the par 4s unless the situation kind of either calls for it or it's just a great number and I hit a good shot. But very rarely, to be honest, am I actually aiming at a lot of pins unless I have a really good number. And that is so important, because I find a lot of people aim at pins just because, say they've hit the middle of the fairway, they feel like they deserve to hit a good shot at the green. They may be into the wind. They may be, maybe the pin doesn't suit their ball flight. Maybe they hit draws and it's a back right pin. So when it comes to me, if I don't have a perfect number, in terms of my yardages, I like flighting a lot of wedges and stuff like that, so I can manipulate some of those. But when it comes to 9 irons and above, my 9 iron kind of carries roughly 155, my 8 irons 170. So if I have an in-betweener, I just will not go to the pin. That's plain and simple. I am going to aim maybe 15 feet left, maybe 10 feet right, but very rarely I'm going to be aiming at the pin unless I have a perfect number, because the second I need to start manipulating kind of the distance there is, that's when you can open yourself up for some mistakes where maybe you get a little bit lazy, you kind of, maybe hang one out to the right, you kind of hit a high spinny one, and all of a sudden now you have a short right shot to a pin. That's going to be a tricky up and down. So my first piece of advice is only going at pins when you have good numbers. Now, my second piece of advice, and obviously, you got to make putts, but I think a better piece of advice when it comes to basically not, again, if we're talking under par, if you're someone that shoots, in the 90s, 100s, work on the short game, work on the putting, you're going to shave off strokes quite quickly. But when it comes to shooting under par, I think the most valuable asset to your game is being good off the tee. Obviously, you got to hit some iron shots close, but I think the tee shot sets up everything for me. I play my best golf when I'm confident off the tee, and I think that is it's just so important, having a good off the tee game, whether you're, hitting your irons, whether you're hitting 3-wood driver, doesn't matter. You need to be able to get off the tee. And I think having one ball flight, so whether it's a cut, whether it's a draw, and just mastering that is so important. So don't try to start hitting all ball flights because, the hole calls for it. Just, again, this ties back in to not having a good number and trying to go at the pin, right? If this hole sets up for a draw and you're someone that hits exclusive cuts, do not try to hit a draw around the corner. This is now effectively a par hole. This is now, let's hit it to the middle of the fairway, let's hit it to the fat part of the fairway. So we have like, the easiest shot we can to hit this on the green, right? We're not necessarily trying to hit it close. We are trying to hit this on the green, 2-putt and get out of there. It's very easy to forget some of those holes, especially when you're playing. Like, you won't remember a hole where you you make a good decision. Instead of hitting driver around the corner, you maybe hit a 2-iron or a 3-wood to the fat part of the fairway, hit it to the fat part of the green, you hit it to 25 feet, you 2-putt, you leave. You're going to forget that. But that is what it takes to play good golf. That is what boring golf is, and you should be striving to play boring golf. Don't get faked out by this idea that you have to play the correct ball flight every single time. And that also applies to going into greens, right? You don't need to hit low draws to get to that back left pin. You don't need to hit a high soft cut to get to that pin there. Anytime you do stuff like that, if you don't have like the skill level for it or the skill set for it, you are more likely going to mess up, and it's very easy to knock it up and down, hit it to 30, 40 feet, 3-putt, and all of a sudden there's a quick bogey, right? The name of the game is making less mistakes, and that's always playing the percentage shot, the shot you're most comfortable with, and not hitting the quote-unquote correct shot. The next piece of advice I have when it comes to shooting low scores is early on in this round, I was 2 under early, and then I made back-to-back bogeys, so I got it back to even par. And it would have been very easy to, I'm not going to say panic, but all of a sudden start making like reactionary swings, especially seeing as I had back-to-back bogeys, and then I missed the green, and I had a pretty difficult chip shot that I ended up actually holing, and then that really turned the momentum around, right? So don't let one or two, a loose 3-putt or a bad chip or whatever get in your head, or a bad drive. Stick to the game plan. If you're someone who has the potential to shoot under par, you are capable of making 3, 4, 5, 6 birdies in a row or for the rest of the round, right? So just know you have the potential to sink a long putt, hole a bunker shot, whatever. Don't panic. Don't get reactive when it comes to, I've made a couple bogeys or whatever, and start playing like either defensive or start changing your game. No, bogeys are going to happen. You can't really control, sometimes you get bad breaks, sometimes you get really, really unlucky. Don't let that bother you, because again, if you're someone who has the potential to shoot under par, just keep playing golf. Keep hitting those percentage shots. Keep hitting those drives that suit your ball flight. And more often than not, you're going to wear the golf course down, and eventually you're going to make some of those putts. You got par 5s. If you have distance, you can get to them in 2, maybe 2-putt, chip it up and down to get some birdies, right? Like, your whole goal here is to not panic, not make mistakes, play boring golf. That's my next piece of advice. I'm sorry, I just realized I said at the beginning of the video that I was going to be weaving in and out, kind of going in, talking about certain shots, but I've been talking the whole time, so I apologize, but I have a lot to say on this topic, and I hope you do find a lot of it valuable. But this was the point in which I had a putt to make my 6th birdie in a row, and I hit a lob wedge quite long. This is like a 30-footer putt, I'd say, and I made a really bad choice. I made a good swing, but I failed to take into account all the variables when it came to that lie. So I had 113 yards, and typically my lob wedge is going to go about, let's say 103, maybe like 106 with the elevation change here. But I had 113 yards to the pin. I knew I needed to get it back there, and I hit my lob wedge like I was trying to hit at 113. I was trying to give it a little bit extra, but I was out of the rough, meaning it's not going to spin that much, and I was also had a bit of a downhill lie. Sometimes when you have a bit of a downhill lie, your effective loft of the club is going to change. So 58 effectively became a 55 degree, and that means the ball is going to go further. So realistically, all I needed to do for that shot was play my normal yardage, probably like a 105-yard swing, and it would have scooted back there. Instead, I tried to hit it like 113 yards, and it ended up going like 120 with a lob wedge. So not good. And this hole here, this bear was just creeping right by the pin. He was probably only like 20 feet away from me, and I was honestly terrified. You can see me just looking back and stuff. So I got out of that hole quite quickly because I think during the course of this round I saw I think it was like 6, 7, 8 bears or whatever. Like, it was really scary. And this shot here I chunked so bad because my heart was racing at this point. I did see, I'm going to call them grizzly bears, but apparently there are black bears that go brown. They're called cinnamon bears, apparently. So I saw like 3 or 4 of those, and I was really scared because I thought they were grizzly bears, but apparently they were not, so I was panicking for no reason. But luckily, I collected myself here and managed to hit a good 2-iron here and got about 90 yards. So got another chance to get this one close. That's a perfect number. I love hitting that kind of like, maybe like a 10 o'clock wedge swing here just to take a few yards off it. And I hit such a good putt here, but unfortunately, it did not drop. I didn't give it enough speed. But we got 5 under par. We got about, 2 holes to go. And this was a tricky pin. Like, the pin is way, way at the back right, if you can see it there. And this is where I made a mistake. This is where I pushed when I probably shouldn't have. I had about 187 yards, hit a 7-iron. Realistically, I should not have gone for that pin. Instead, I went for the pin and I ended up pulling it. And when you pull it, the ball's going to go a little bit further. And now I'm in the back bunker with a very, very difficult up and down. And unfortunately, I'm not going to make par here, so it is going to be a shot wasted. So right there, the correct shot would have been, yeah, you know what? We have a good round going. We don't need to waste it. I don't need to go at this pin. All I need to do, aim at the middle of the green with probably an 8-iron. I just hit it to like maybe 30 feet, 2-putt, and leave, right? There's no reason for me to try to go at that pin, even though like I have a good round. I would like to, shoot maybe like 6, 7, 8 under. But that was just a mistake there, and an example of how quick bogeys can really creep up on you. So just make sure when you're playing golf, do the percentage shot. It's not a bad thing hitting it to the middle of the green 30 feet away and just trying to 2-putt. It's not a bad thing. Your goal is to make less bogeys. But that's my round here, 5 under par 67 at Kananaskis Golf Course. I hope you did like this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you want to see next. Have a good day.